America's busiest airports are eerily quiet. Once bustling with travelers from all over the world, these vast spaces now echo with the sound of rolling suitcases and distant announcements, but little else. The energy that once defined these terminals has faded, leaving behind a strange, almost haunting calm. The usual crowds and chatter have vanished, replaced by empty terminals and idle staff. Airport workers, who once moved quickly to keep up with the flow of passengers, now stand by with little to do, their routines disrupted by the sudden drop in travelers. Security lines are gone, baggage carousels spin for just a handful of suitcases, and rental car lots sit half-empty. The familiar rush and urgency of air travel have been replaced by a sense of waiting for passengers who never arrive, for flights that are only half full, for a return to normal that seems far away. In cities like Orlando, Phoenix, and Seattle, the absence of Canadian travelers is striking. These airports, once gateways for millions of Canadians seeking sun and adventure, now feel abandoned. The economic impact is visible in every empty seat and shuttered counter. Information desks and international arrival areas are nearly deserted. Staff who once greeted visitors from across the border now spend their shifts in silence, watching the clock and hoping for a change. This isn't a seasonal dip, it's a crisis for the American travel industry. Shops and restaurants that depend on international travelers are closing their doors, and airlines are grounding planes that once flew full to capacity. The ripple effect is felt everywhere. Taxi drivers, hotel staff, and local businesses all wonder where the Canadians have gone. The loss of these visitors means fewer fares, empty hotel rooms, and storefronts struggling to survive. What began as a subtle shift has become a full-blown boycott. The reasons are complex, but the result is clear. A vital stream of travelers has dried up almost overnight, leaving airports and communities scrambling to adapt. Canadians, once a cornerstone of U.S. tourism, are staying away in droves. Their absence is felt not just in the airports, but in the cities and towns that once welcomed them with open arms. Flights to and from Canadian cities now depart with rows of empty seats. Airlines are forced to cut routes, and the sense of connection between the two countries grows weaker with every empty departure. The winter rush, once a boon for business, is now a source of anxiety. Staff who once looked forward to the busy season now worry about layoffs and lost income as the flow of travelers slows to a trickle. The silence in these airports is a stark symbol of a deepening rift between two longtime friends. As the days pass and the terminals remain empty, the question grows louder: when or if will the Canadians return? For 8 months, Canadians have quietly boycotted travel to the U.S. This isn't an organized campaign but a grassroots movement powered by social media and national sentiment. What started as a few canceled trips has become a flood as families and businesses choose other destinations. In August alone, Canadian visits to the U.S. by car dropped 34%, and air travel fell 25%. The Great Canadian Boycott is a powerful collective statement. Canadians are expressing disapproval of U.S. policies by simply staying away. The decision is both personal and political, a show of solidarity and national pride. Each canceled trip adds to the economic and social impact. Canadians are discovering new travel options, hinting at a long-term shift in North American tourism. The roots of the boycott stretch deep into a period of escalating tension between the United States and Canada, marking one of the most significant downturns in their relationship in decades. What began as a series of diplomatic disagreements soon spiraled into a full-blown economic and cultural standoff, shaking the foundation of what was once considered an unbreakable partnership. The situation reached a boiling point in July 2025, when the Trump administration abruptly imposed a sweeping 35% tariff on Canadian goods. This move sent shockwaves through both economies, disrupting trade routes and leaving businesses scrambling to adapt. The tariffs were widely seen as punitive, and they triggered immediate backlash on both sides of the border. For many Canadians, the tariffs felt like a direct assault, not just on their economy, but on their sense of national dignity and sovereignty. Small business owners, workers, and families across the country felt the impact almost overnight, as prices rose and uncertainty grew. The situation was further inflamed by inflammatory rhetoric from U.S. leaders. Statements hinting at annexation and dismissing Canadian concerns only deepened the wounds, fueling anger and resentment among Canadians who felt their country was being bullied by its powerful neighbor. Public opinion shifted dramatically. Polls revealed that only 15% of Canadians approved of U.S. leadership, while a staggering 79% expressed disapproval, a historic low that reflected the depth of the rift. trust in the US government plummeted, and conversations about the future of the relationship became more urgent. The effects rippled into everyday life. More than half of Canadians reported they were now less likely to visit the US, citing the hostile political climate and a desire to support their own economy. Travel agencies and airlines saw a sharp decline in bookings to American destinations. In response, a wave of nationalist sentiment swept the country. Buy Canadian campaigns flourished, and slogans like "Canada is not for sale" became rallying cries at protests and in everyday conversation. The movement was visible in shop windows, on clothing, and across social media. The boycott quickly evolved into something much larger than a reaction to tariffs. It became a powerful declaration of Canadian independence, unity, and pride, a way for people to assert their identity and values in the face of external pressure. Across the country, Canadians are coming together to define themselves not just by what they oppose, but by what they stand for. In this moment, the rift with the US is shaping a new sense of Canadian identity, one rooted in resilience, solidarity, and a renewed commitment to national values. The economic fallout for the US is massive. Canadians are the largest group of foreign visitors, spending over $20 billion in 2024 alone. The sudden drop in Canadian tourism is projected to cost the US up to $29 billion in 2025. Hotels, restaurants, and attractions across the country are struggling. Small businesses in tourist hotspots face closure, and workers are losing hours and jobs. Airlines are flying near-empty planes on cross-border routes, with several facing financial distress. The loss exposes just how vital Canadian visitors are to the US economy. Goodwill and respectful relations have real economic value. The money once spent in the US is now being redirected elsewhere, leaving a gaping hole in the tourism sector. Some Americans traveling abroad are now flag-jacking, pretending to be Canadian in order to avoid backlash or negative attention. They wear maple leaf patches and claim Canadian identity, hoping for friendlier treatment and to blend in more easily with other travelers. Canadians see this as disrespectful, a shortcut to escape criticism while co-opting their national identity and reputation for their own benefit. The practice has sparked anger and debate, with many calling it fraudulent and damaging to Canada's reputation on the world stage. For Canadians, it's a final insult. After economic and political slights, now their identity is being borrowed for convenience and personal gain. This only deepens the divide, reinforcing Canadians' resolve to distance themselves from the US and protect their own unique identity. The boycott is hitting hardest in US destinations that have long relied on Canadian visitors, places like Hawaii, Florida, California, and Nevada. These sunny escapes, famous for their beaches, resorts, and entertainment, have always counted on a steady stream of Canadians, especially during the cold winter months. Now, the sudden drop in Canadian tourists is sending shockwaves through local economies that depend on tourism dollars. In Hawaii, the impact is especially severe. Canadian tourism has dropped nearly 10% in just 7 months, costing the state an estimated $33 million. Hotels, restaurants, and small businesses that cater to international travelers are feeling the strain, with some forced to cut hours or close altogether. The winter season, which is usually packed with Canadian snowbirds escaping the cold, now looks bleak and uncertain. Destinations like Palm Springs, once bustling with activity, are seeing empty pools and vacant hotel rooms. Florida's coasts, too, are bracing for even steeper declines once pre-booked trips run out. Local businesses worry about how they'll survive the season without their loyal Canadian customers, who often stay for weeks or even months. Las Vegas, which welcomed 1.4 million Canadians last year, is feeling the loss on the Strip. Casinos, shows, and restaurants that once thrived on international visitors are now struggling to fill seats and rooms. Desperate to reverse the trend, cities and tourism boards are sending delegations to Canada, hoping to persuade travelers to return. They're meeting with travel agents, attending expos, and launching new marketing campaigns to win back Canadian hearts. Meanwhile, airlines are shifting capacity away from US routes, betting that Canadians will choose other warm destinations in the Caribbean, Mexico, or even Europe instead of the US. WestJet, for example, is boosting flights to Hawaii but cutting service to the US mainland, reflecting the changing travel patterns and uncertainty in the market. Across the industry, there's a growing sense that this isn't just a temporary dip. Many believe Canadian travel habits may be changing for good, forcing tourist havens to rethink how they attract visitors in the years ahead. US tourism is scrambling to win Canadians back. States launch special discounts and Canada-friendly campaigns from California to Maine. Governors send letters and video messages urging a return to cross-border friendship. But Canadians remain unmoved. Discounts can't fix political tensions or perceived disrespect. Instead, Canadians are traveling more within their own country and exploring new international destinations. Domestic tourism in Canada is booming, projected to hit record highs. The money once spent in the US now fuels a renaissance at home. The US tourism industry is left wondering if its most loyal visitors will ever return.